Mayhem broke out in front of UC Davis because the two speakers that were set to speak, their joint venture, internet trolls Martin Shkreli and Milo Yiannopoulos, a lot of the people in that school did not want them to attend. In fact, there was actually like a letter to be petitioned. There was an editorial denouncing the event in the school's paper, but they were still allowed to have this event that they called Yiannopolous. It was on Friday the 13th, very fitting. So what happened was the protesters, they blocked the venue. So they blocked the venue. People could not, that wanted to hear them speak, could not attend the venue. And then according to, it was actually Milo that first said this, said that Martin was hit in the face with feces, okay? So he's the one that first said that. He used actually the word, I believe he used excrements. How do you say that?
Excrement.
Yeah. Does that mean the same thing?
Yes.
That's what I thought, because I love this, because then guess what? I guess he didn't talk to Martin, or Martin didn't talk to him, or maybe Martin didn't care, because then Martin released a statement saying that that never happened. Martin said actually it was a pile of leaves, and that he was able to brush the leaves off. So this is exactly what he said. He said there was no poop thrown. Unfortunately, this is what they call fake news. Better talk to your bro then. There was something thrown. My security determined it to be leaves, which I brushed off. The lack of smell, stain, or other obvious findings eliminates that possibility. And then Milo wrote on his Facebook page, left-wing thugs scared UC Davis into canceling my event last night by damaging property, hurling excrement at guests, and starting fights. So how do we know any of that's true if we've already heard that some of it isn't? It was the university and campus PD who told us the event could not go ahead. However, the university said that it was mostly, even though it was chaotic, it was a peaceful protest. There was a lot of mayhem because a lot of people did not want these two to be speaking. But they did say that one person was arrested, and now we have Martin Shkreli and Milo Yiannopoulos saying that this was an infringement on their freedom of speech, and then this is censorship, and yada yada yada. We'll get to it. Thoughts by words or less.
Give them the silent treatment.
Duh. What did you expect?
Yeah.
They both suck dog shit.
Freedom of speech has consequences, though. Like you can advocate for freedom of speech and have your freedom of speech, but guess what? When you say shitty things about people, people are going to react, and they're not going to want to hear you speak, and they are going to show up, and they are going to protest, and they have their right to protest. So there you go.
Boom,
there are boundaries to protesting, and also. This is something.
But did they cross the boundaries? We don't know.
Well, here's the problem. I mean, if you look at the videos, they do look pretty aggressive. It's not like a regular peaceful protest where they're just sitting around. But there's a big commotion there. But that's besides the point. Whether they were aggressive or not, I am of the mindset that we should instantly, today, as a collective unit, stop talking about Milo Yiannopoulos. Not just on the show, but I mean, like, just let him do his thing. The more we protest, the more we vilify him, the more he becomes a famous person. That's why he has a $250,000 book deal. And the more we talk about how unacceptable that book deal is, for example, the bigger he's becoming.
Yeah,
and
but if we don't talk about it, then we're condoning it.
No, but here's what I mean. I am of the mindset that no matter how racist, unless they're like genuinely going out and being like, listen, there's conclusive evidence that anyone that's not white is lesser than all, the white race, which is the mass race, or like anyone that's inciting hate speech. That's the boundary, and it's a legal boundary, and there's a reason for it, right? But anything below that, which Milo Yiannopoulos is below that, he says he trolls around, he says racist shit to gain attention. They should allow them to come to the school and speak if that's what they want, and they have. I mean, there are definitely students at UC Davis who invited him over, who wanted him to come, who wanted to see him speak. So the more we don't allow him to speak, the more we feed into his narrative that he's trying to establish, which is the left wing is pro-censorship, they're the new fascists, and look at what they're doing to me. I'm not doing anything, I'm just talking. And he's an extremely intelligent man, and we keep playing into his game because, I mean, the way I see Milo is kind of like my brother. Like, he knows how to press my buttons. My brother knows how to press my buttons, and he'll always get me angry. And as soon as you get angry, you're going to lose that battle.
I agree.
And Milo is professional at making people angry.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Haas, in the sense that the more that people talk about him, the more it legitimizes his point of view. And what we know is that this is a guy that doesn't believe in lesbians. His views are completely outlandish. And it just doesn't, I really do not think that they are sustainable. I think that they are. I think that the university did a lot on their part to, publish the editorial. I think that they could have. Had the protests and whatever, like you said, Sam, at the top, just they're allowed to speak and they're allowed to protest. That's how, free speech has consequences. That's how it works. But more and more we're seeing when you get angry, when you let Milo and these idiots get under your skin, and then you do legitimize what they're saying. You're saying that they do have a foot to stand on. But what we need to be saying is these guys are absolute madmen on the fringes of society, and they might connect with a certain population, but the more that you have this visceral reaction from the left, let's say the liberals or whatever, the progressives, that only emboldens them to say, oh, we're really hitting a nerve. How are we hitting a nerve if what we're saying isn't true? Like, you must be upset. Obviously, it's a little bit true.
I agree, but I can't imagine nobody denouncing them.
I think there's a way to denounce them, but also just you can't validate what they're saying. I think to denounce
I like
them,
that their speech got shut down. I like it.
I absolutely like it, but I still think that we still have to find a balance.
You think it's counterproductive?
Yeah, because this is what I was, in the 60s, my mom was telling me that, when I got really disheartened over the election and the emergence of the alt-right and whatever name you want to call them, I was getting really sad about it. And my mom was saying to me, who is, I've talked about this before, a little bit older, she was like, when I was in the 60s, we thought this was the worst that it's ever going to be. Like, this is the worst time in our lives. Like, our generation's on fire, the world's on fire, everything we know to be true. John Lennon is being assassinated, and all the, Nixon and the war in Vietnam, like all this stuff. It's never going to get any worse than this. And we see that every generation has this moment. This is our generation's moment. We feel like the world's on fire. We feel like people like Milo Yiannopoulos and Martin Shkreli, that they are these voices that will assume power. But we know that this is so cheesy. Love wins. We are on the side of love and on compassion and empathy, and we have to take action. We have to be proactive about that. And I don't think that the way to do that is to legitimize these guys. Because look, people soften over time. The audience that they have, these people, predominantly men, they're going to have families one day. They're going to move. I know. I do. I think so.
I hope so. I don't know. I hope so. Some people don't soften over time.
Vitriolic hate. It just is not. It's not sustainable. It's not. And you have to. You want to delegitimize them, and you don't. I don't care about what they have to say. You want to make sure that you don't condone what they're saying, but you also have to give them a place to speak and air it out, because that's the sort of the frustration and the tension in this country. And if you try and silence the opposition, even if it's stupid,
they get so angry.
Right. And it just
get Jason in here.
Let's feel powerful.
First of all, you guys all make such powerful, amazing points. One of the things I thought about too was the safety of the whole, if they were allowed to speak, the safety of the people attending, because obviously the people that are attending feel the same way that they do, and the people protesting do not. So that could have been a shit show in itself. And UC Davis does not want on their hands death or someone being harmed
Violence.
by exactly. And also, how amazing, when the students here in Los Angeles at a East LA school walked out of class when they heard that Trump was going to be elected because they were allowed their family members were immigrants. They got up and left. I think it's so powerful and so amazing to see these young people, because I'm 37 years old, so someone 24, 25 and younger, those are young people to me. How amazing that they know the power they have within their hands to speak out and take action against something they do not agree with. I think that's an amazing thing. I mean, to echo what you guys say would be making me an echo chamber, but I think, like I said, you guys make valid points, and I don't think these guys will soften over time, because the type of hate they spew and the vitriolic words that they have, that's so intrinsic in who they are. And they're constantly being in these people. So, no, I don't think they're going to change. I do think that by now...
I don't think all of them. I just think a little bit of the population. Like, this movement doesn't continue.
And
like,
it's not a large
alt-right
movement,
doesn't live
though.
forever.
It's not that...
It just gets a different name.
We overstate its power. They're a very, very vocal minority, and it's also a hot topic, so we lend it extensive coverage so people incorrectly assume that they are a large representative body within the Republican Party. Now, that has issues in and of itself, but what I'm trying to say is I know a lot of these people. I know a lot of alt-right people. I also am a fan of Reddit, and I go on 4chan every now and then because I want to understand where they're coming from, where everyone's coming from, like why they feel the way they do. And What I wanted to say is, I've listened to Milo Yiannopoulos talk. He's an extremely intelligent person. He really is. He's very smart. His rhetoric
manipulative.
He's very manipulative.
So manipulative.
He's manipulating UC Davis right now.
Yeah,
with what
you're
happened.
right. He's manipulating by saying that it was chaotic and there was feces being thrown when we all know that wasn't the case about the feces.
But he knows that that was going to happen. He's waiting for that, which is what I'm saying.
He uses it. You're
He's
right.
using that to extend to increase his social footprint, to increase his legitimacy, and then MSNBC
and to demonize the left. And to demonize the left. You're right.
So what I was trying to say is, if you want to defeat Milo Yiannopoulos, and this kind of pertains to, I mean, this argument could also be used for Donald Trump as well, because he does some things that are very similar. Just let him speak. Because I've listened to his speeches for 3 hours, though. No, but like, here's what I'm saying. But I've listened to him speak for 3.5 hours on multiple different occasions, and like when you let him speak, because he has no clear-cut, well-established ideology, because it's so inauthentic, and he's very clearly crafted this like, I'm gay and I exclusively love having sex with big black men, and he like fetishizes and constantly talks about that. But then on top of that, he's like, I actually don't think that, I think trans people are completely, like, they're psychotic and they should never be able to have surgery because they're harming themselves. And then on top of that, he's like an anti-abortion all the way. He has so many conflicting opinions. And when you think about it deeply, it's very obvious that he's trying to put up this persona.
A smart person will let him talk and be like, wow,
that's what I'm
idiot.
saying.
But not everyone's smart.
No, but like,
not everyone understands that he's putting his foot in his mouth and he has conflicting opinions. There's a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, that's right, trans people are mentally ill. And that's where you have to have this.
Those people.
But you have to have a fine line. I agree with you. Believe me. What is that balance? I don't know the answer what the balance is to letting somebody talk and not further emboldening them, but also making sure that what they're saying, you can stand up and say that's wrong and that's not okay, and we're going to stand up and let you know that's not okay. So it's a tough balance, but I don't think it's either or.
This is what I would hope for in 2017.
Final thought.
I hope John Oliver tears him a new one.
I hope not, because then he's getting coverage on like.
I hope that we see. I think that if there was like in the same way that Jon Stewart did it to Glenn Beck a little while ago, I think that the biting satire to point out the ludicrousy in his ideas and you make a really good point, his weird ideology that I don't think he even really knows the balance of. Would be, I think, very effective. You have to allow these views don't make any sense.
But for us, it's so crazy when that happens. I remember that happened. You still looked at the left versus right. The left was still got it. They were like, oh my God, this is great. I love what Jon Stewart did. But then the right is saying, oh, this is ridiculous. These are lies. So it doesn't matter how you set it up. It doesn't matter if John Oliver or Jon Stewart are the best of the best. You know, recently we talked about with Lauren and Trevor Noah. You're still going to look at the comment section, and it's still going to be equally divided from left to right, no matter who made the better points. It's sad. At this point in our lives, it's like no matter what, we blindly follow. I think my side's the right side. So not always. I do try and always look at both sides.
Also,
I do. But when it comes to equal justice, when it comes to equality, there's only one right answer. It's inclusiveness. It's empathy.
Can you, for the viewer, because in one of the videos where we talked about the alt-right, people didn't know what that meant. Can you articulate what the alt-right is?
They're the new Nazis. They're Nazis in suits. They are. You just shrugged your face like yikes, but they are.
No,
they preach supremacy.
No, not all of them.
Okay, but the videos that I have seen, they preach supremacy, saying that the white race is greater than any other race. That, to me, is the same symbolism that the Nazis believe. They still do. Some of them do the Nazi salute. So, in my opinion, they are Nazis in suits. In my opinion,
that's like literally just a microcosm of that entire movement. Though, for the most part, it's just like horny teenagers and older men that are just like sexually repressed, that think trolling, and pseudo-intellectuals that want to sound intelligent on the internet by spouting like weird facts that they collected off of Google images that aren't even true. And for the most part, it's a troll movement. You need to understand, like, the internet troll mentality. It was created in the darkest corners of the internet, on 4chan and on Reddit's Donald Trump page.
It's more than a troll movement when you see hundreds of people throwing out a Nazi salute. It's more than a troll movement. It's a belief system.
No, but those people were already in existence before the alt-right.
But they call themselves the alt-right. You're right. But they call themselves that, though.
So it's just an unorganized group of people that some of them are like, we're Nazis, we think white people are better, and then other people are just like, I'm gonna share this Pepe the Frog meme because I think like I hate liberals and I think this is funny because I'm gonna get them angry. They think a lot of people think just political correctness is the worst possible thing that could happen to America, and they're angry about it, and that's why they're like, oh, I guess I'm alt-right because I'm against what these people stand for, because I'm against political correctness, because I'm against censorship.
Well, then they should come up with their own. I'm sorry, I think the worst of the worst is to be a Nazi, and then you should, if you're against establishment, if you're against whatever that may be, then I think that you should come up with your own category, because to be grouped with the alt-right, unfortunately, someone like me is going to group you with that group of Nazis that think that their race is,
and in my opinion,
better than other races.
That feeds into the polarization, though. If we don't try to understand where some of these people are coming from, regardless of whether or not we agree with their opinions, regardless of whether we think it's the worst thing you can possibly be. And of course, I'm not saying a guy like David Duke or a guy like, what's that fucking guy's name? God damn it. He's like, he's a white supremacist. Like he self-admitted. What's his name? Yeah, Robert Spencer, for example. Obviously, he's out of his mind, and he's so far off the deep end that it's impossible to save him at this point. Just let him say the weird, crazy shit that he says, and just don't lend it any coverage at all.
But that identifies with some people. Some people that influences them. So yeah, you can let him say what he wants to say, but unfortunately, there are people that are disenfranchised or grew up in an environment where they share that same mindset, and then they hear that, and it emboldens them. So it's a much more layered approach than just saying don't fuel the fire.
I'm not saying just let it be.
No, I know you're not. I don't know the balance either.
And then I personally, I lend to coverage myself, but the way I do it, I try to break down what they're saying, where they're coming from, and why it's wrong. I try to understand where they're coming from. Otherwise, it's impossible to construct an argument that some people on that side of the political spectrum will understand.
That's really honorable. I love that. To always try and understand where the other party's coming from, no matter if you agree with them or not, is something that I need to work on when it comes to inequality and injustices, because I'm so staunch in my views when it comes to that. But yeah, you can't form a solution. You can't, if you don't understand at least where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that that's honorable, and that's something that I want to work on. And I do think that I agree with everything you're saying. I just don't know what that balance is, because I do think that there still needs to be a balance between standing up for what you believe in and dismissing what others are saying and letting them know that's not okay, but then also not, fueling their fire. So I agree. I just don't know what the answer is.
Because the law still protects. The law, like the freedom of speech has boundaries, right? So in the end of the day, if it gets out of hand, then obviously those people will be punished.
Right.
But before it gets out of hand and we protest and it turns violent, it escalates into something that you don't want it to be, that will just make Milo Yiannopoulos and guys like Martin Shkreli more popular. It's literally just the playground bully. And you got to think about it. If you're a teenager out there and you're like, why are these people bullying me in high school, for example, or in college? What I always used to do is just try to understand what's wrong with that person's life that led him to behave this way. And same with internet trolls, same with commenters. Like, I don't get upset over the hundreds of thousands of comments that are negative towards me, because I know where that person's coming from. He's coming from a sad
I agree
place.
with you. I'm speaking out for the people out there that maybe a 15-year-old girl who, guess what, ends up taking her life because of it. So it's much bigger than that. I get that, yes, leave it alone. Don't feed the trolls. That's you. But
I'm telling that 15-year-old girl right now, this is what I'm saying. Like, you understand where that person's coming from. That person's in a way worse.
I agree with you, but
I've been through it too.
I've been through it too, but it's easier said than done, and that's why I do think there needs to be boundaries. And sometimes when it comes to internet bullying, there's not enough boundaries. So, but that's just my opinion, and this is just such a nuanced conversation. I don't know the answer. I don't, and that's why we're having so many different conversations going back and forth regarding it all. But I don't know. Maybe you guys can make sense of it. Please, please help us out. Help us out. Fire. We need help. Please leave your thoughts, all your thoughts in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.